have a video today to discuss the amazing press conference of President Trump with the presence of Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel on the 4th of February in the White House after their long meeting in which they discussed various issues concerning the Middle East. And from what we heard from President Trump, we know what exactly they discussed. So let me start with a couple of very concrete introductory comments. One of them is that the night when I heard what Trump said and when I watched the press conference, I was confused. And I couldn't really react immediately to what was said. And I asked myself, and some other people asked me, why are you confused? So the main confusion is simply about the fact that while President Trump is pursuing such full-fledged isolationist approach to international relations altogether, by removing the US from international organizations, which is a question that we shall not delve into in this particular video recording. And while he talks about pulling American troops out of conflict zones, and in particular he said in the past that he would not like to send American troops to deal with centuries-old conflicts, he is suggesting American military intervention in one of the most problematic, dangerous, and volatile regions of the world, the border between Israel and Gaza, a problem that could spread to the rest of the Middle East. So that in itself was a surprise. Since I'm not an expert on Trump, I'm not a Trumpist in that sense, I was confused and still am confused. The second general comment is, look, to think out of the box is good. To be original and to offer trains of thought that haven't been thought about before or discussed even, let alone exercise on the ground, that's good. That is not the problem with what President Trump said. On the contrary, in a way, he should be commended for the fact that he has this vision that he thinks will give a general solution to the Middle East. Here is the problem, though. Here is the problem. And it's a very, very big problem. He talks in two levels, in two terms, which, unfortunately, are wrong. One is the idea that there could be something that happens that will solve the main problems of the Middle East. It doesn't work like that. It was tried in all kinds of ways in the past. This plan, that plan, by the US, by other countries, by Israelis, by Arabs. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's much more diversified region, much more problematic, much more imbued and loaded with so many issues and conflicts. The second problem is his approach is basically business type, economical, commercial. He's a businessman. It doesn't work. Economic solutions are always desirable. Improving the standards of living of people is desirable. These are all noble causes. Only problem is they do not solve the problems of the Middle East. And they haven't, and they will not. The entire foundation, therefore, of the approach is wrong. It's wrong. Now, who would finance all this? So, will it cost more to the US to participate in reconstructing the Gaza Strip, as it may happen, or at least was discussed until now it is going to happen? Or will it not cost the US more to take out almost 2 million people from Gaza? And that brings me now to the core of the point that he made. Let's be honest about it. Humanitarianly speaking, the Gaza Strip cannot contain a population, cannot cater for a population of over 2 million people. Just cannot. It doesn't have the infrastructure it never had and never will have. So the population there is too big. Encouraging, therefore, emigration from the Gaza Strip is a good idea. Not forcibly. Not forcibly. I will repeat it for the third time, not forcibly. Offering inducement, economic and others. And there may be countries that will take quotas of immigrants from Gaza. And there are many, many Gazans who would like to use this option. That said, there is no way to evacuate 2 million people. Definitely not willingly. And forcibly is out of the question. Out of the question. It is a mirage. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen also that the Trump administration will be able to evacuate 11 or 12 million, either so-called or allegedly or illegal, as we choose to say, people from the US. It's not going to happen there. It's not going to happen in Gaza. Let's see. What if I'm wrong? Which happens, yeah, sometimes. Or if I will prove wrong. Even if the US succeeds in the plan to remove many, many people from Gaza, how long will it take? Many months, few years. And those who know the history of the Middle East can tell you that there is no vacuum. Does Mr. Trump or those who support this idea think that all this time when people will be removed from Gaza, even willingly, the enemies of the program, of the plan, will just sit idly by and nothing will happen? What we know about the Middle East is that the time factors are so important. And look at the history only of the last 30, 40 years after the Oslo Accords. The enemies of the Oslo Accords were shocked in the beginning. Israel and the PLO recognizing each other, historic. What can be more historic? What can be more breakthrough? What can be more new, more different? And yet, it took them a few months and they started working, destabilizing, undermining, destroying the Oslo Accords. For example, I'll give you more examples. So I can go on and on like this. The plan, as Mr. Trump suggests, is not going to work. There are elements, however, in what he said that should be promoted and executed. And I would say what I said before on many occasions and wrote about. If you want to achieve peace along the border between Israel and Gaza, Hamas has to be totally destroyed. Totally. You cannot make peace with those who object to the very notion of peace. The conventional wisdom of you make peace with your enemies, it's a nice line. What is the problem? You make peace with enemies who are agreeing after they were defeated, after they failed in achieving their goals, that now it's the option of peace. It's not the case with Hamas. So when Trump says that all the hostages should be freed and quickly, totally in agreement with, obviously, there's no question about it. When Trump says that Hamas should not be there, totally in agreement. Question is how to do it. But that is not taking 2 million people out. It cannot happen and it will not happen. And it is useless to waste time on what is not going to happen. Egypt and Jordan can provide a very partial solution, particularly Jordan, because the more people you bring to Jordan, which is already unstable, with 65-70% Palestinians who accept the Hashemite kingdom today, but who knows for how long and under what circumstances, that could undermine the very existence of Jordan. And with all the criticism of the kingdom of Jordan, the Hashemite kingdom, and King Abdullah, and the corruption there, and all the other issues that we know about Jordan, it has existed for over a century already. So, you don't just dismantle something that already has existed for a century for the sake of who knows what. The devil sometimes is simply better than the devils you don't know, even if the vision is about Rivieras and all that comes with it. Egypt could absorb more people. At any rate, whether the Jordanians and the Egyptians will absorb this or that number of people, it will cost a lot of money to the American taxpayer. Somebody will have to bribe them, let's use the word, in order to accept anything like that. Likelihood of it happening? Low. Not impossible, low likelihood. He talked about normalization or peace with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis do not like to see a Palestinian state. Say that you heard it behind closed doors from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Why would you say it in public? Only to invite the Saudis to immediately deny it. I can go on and on. So, where is my alternative? Here is my alternative. The main problem in the Middle East is still Iran. And yesterday, or on the 4th of February, when the president talked, his references to Iran were very vague. Yes, he will impose sanctions, and very severe ones. But he also wants to meet their president. One can connect the two into, I want to threaten them more than ever before and see if they will agree. Yes, they will not have nuclear weapons. But he did not mention a word about the military option, not even the standard line about all the options on the table. He didn't say anything like this. Iran, with its nuclear program, with its regional ambitions that have been defeated but not completely destroyed and weakened greatly by the Israeli military success, military against Hamas and Hezbollah, Iran is still the key. And why? Because if the Iranian nuclear program is to be destroyed, and it could be destroyed, and it should be destroyed, and quickly and even immediately, that will have much more positive effect on the behavior of other actors in the Middle East than talking about taking 2 million people out of Gaza and all that comes with it. Because a lot of the fears that exist in the Middle East exist exactly about the fact that many countries, not least of them Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf countries, are afraid that Iran still is presenting an existential threat to them. And dealing with Iran will have also a good effect on the attitude of Palestinians, because there still is this hope that somebody, another big power will come to their help and do something for them that will salvage them from their problems. Yeah, I know that some people think this will be the role of Turkey. The Turks are eyeing Syria. That's their main source of interest now, or area of interest. That's another issue. I dealt with this one in a previous series of talks that I had about Syria. Not today, not now. The fact of the matter is that even destroying the Iranian nuclear program, that may very well lead to the overall collapse of the regime there, is not the one thing that will change everything in the Middle East. But it has more chances of leading towards greater sense of stability, all relative, of course, in the Middle East, than the plan that President Trump suggested. And even if there will be talks between the US and Iran, that will be tough, because President Trump is known to be a tough negotiator. At least he wants us to believe that he is. They may take months, and the Iranians are not stupid. In these months, they will accelerate their nuclear program, and the danger to Israel will remain existential and immortal. And that is something that Israel should not accept, and those who are allies of Israel should understand, particularly the US under Trump. The overall relationship between Israel and the US under Trump, and how it all fits into isolationism and all that, will be in another video that I will prepare very, very soon and post. And let me end up, therefore, as we mentioned Israel, with the Israeli aspect of all that. The Israeli right-wing, or what is considered right-wing, elements of Likud and lunatic Bezalel Smotrich, who is still treasury minister, which is a shame, and the other lunatic Ben-Gvir, who left the government and wants to come back now, they are rejoicing about what Trump said. They ignore the fact that he said no settlements in Gaza, which may indicate also something about what he thinks about the West Bank. He said, by the way, that within a month he will announce something about sovereignty in the West Bank, which indicates to me that he's looking for a formula that will accept the idea of two-state solution, but with Israeli annexation of some parts of the West Bank or Judea and Samaria. But that remains to be seen. We'll talk about it separately. What the Israeli right-wing doesn't understand is, and it's therefore important to mention here, Trump is not acting as if there is no world around him. He is not Captain America as in the movies. He works within a framework of international relationships that is very, very problematic to the ideas he floated around about Gaza, for example. And these ideas of Trump will arouse a lot of opposition in the world. And it will still be a problem for Israel, because it will put Israel again on the side of all these things that so many people in the world don't want to see happening. So what I'm saying now is not like I am afraid as an Israeli, that if Israel says something or does something, the entire world will be against, and no, we should not do that. That's not the case. The problem really is that we, in Israel, the Israelis at any rate, government and public opinion, should be very careful to associate themselves completely and blindly with plans whose chances of materializing are very, very small. This is a Trump plan, and so it should be. Let him go along with the plan. For Israel, the main thing is still the Iranian problem, and how you solve this one, also at a time when the entire attention is focused on Gaza. That in itself is not an Israeli interest. The Israeli interest is that the focus will still be on the bigger problem, which is Iran. Thank you to my viewers.
Join the conversation at Fair Observer and subscribe to our YouTube channel.